Pam Gregory. I'm going to be speaking to you today about second half of November and the new moon that we have coming up in Sagittarius on the 17th or 18th, depending on where in the world you live. Now, this new moon is actually at 26 degrees 31 minutes of Sagittarius. It happens on the 17th at 10:30 p.m. Pacific time and the next day, the 18th, at 6:30 a.m. UK time. Now, this is right on the galactic center. I've talked quite a lot about the galactic center recently. It's a huge vortex of cosmic radiation, cosmic information, and many people consider that to be our source. It's our energetic source, it's our informational source. If you'd like more detail on that, I'd really recommend, as I did in the last video, checking out philipsedgwick.com. He's a very academic astrologer and has done a great deal of research into the galactic center in an astrological sense, so you can get much more information there. But essentially, when planets are aligned with the galactic center, Philip Sedgwick says that it gives the tone of conscious evolution. It enables us to have an upgrade in our spiritual evolution. And in this case, we not only have Saturn, which continues to be at the galactic center, but also very tightly the sun and the moon. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us, again, to open up to any cosmic downloads that we can receive at that time. Now, a new moon, as I always say, is always a new beginning. So it's a new seed that you're planting that may come to you as a thought, an idea, conversation, something that you read, but you're planting a new seed that hasn't yet blossomed, but you can nurture over the coming weeks to bring to manifestation. So it's a great idea to set a new intention at every new moon for what you want to bring into your life. And the best way to do that is not only be aware of the general sense of that new moon, of what I'm going to be talking about in this video, but also see where 26 of Sagittarius falls in your chart, because that will determine the intention you set, or help you determine the intention that you set. So if you don't know where it falls in your chart, check out this link above. You can get my two-part tutorial video series, and that will explain everything you need to know about that and every update I ever do. If it falls in your second house, is this going to be a new way you're going to be making some money, some income? If it falls in your third house, are you changing your day-to-day life in some way, or are you starting to study things that are going to be very important for you long term? So seeing where it falls is so important to understanding your own unfoldment. And the tutorials answer that question I've asked many times: what does it mean for me? So a very important time of spiritual upgrade potentially, and spiritual evolution. And Sagittarius is the most positive of signs. It's the most optimistic. I consider it a sort of Pollyanna sign. It's very upbeat, it's full of enthusiasm and full of new ideas, particularly future-oriented. Sagittarius is the most future-oriented sign. And fire signs in general are signs of inspiration. Now, at the time of this new moon, we have 7 planets in fire signs. We have 5 in Sagittarius: the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus and Saturn. We also have Uranus and Eris in Aries. So you only have 1 planet in Earth, which is Pluto, in Capricorn. So it'll be really important to ground ourselves at the time of this new moon with all of that fire energy. So if you can literally sit with your feet on the bare earth or the grass, that will do amazing things for your physiology. Just check out groundology.com for the details on that. But weather permitting, that would be a really helpful thing to do for your body. What helps us in this grounding process is that Saturn is tightly conjunct the Sun and the Moon at this new moon. And Saturn will also help us to manifest whatever ideas we've been developing while Saturn was in Sagittarius. It's about to move out of Sagittarius, as I'll be saying in a moment. It helps us to bring to Earth, to manifest those ideas. So it's very, very positive for that too. Now, to add to this sense of inspiration and future vision, Jupiter, the planet that rules Sagittarius, is square to the nodal axis. The nodal axis currently, well, certainly in the second half of December, will be at 15 of Leo Aquarius, North Node at 15 of Leo. So Jupiter squaring that can really help this sense of future vision, creating a better world, both for ourselves, but for the world in general, for everyone in the world. And it's also receiving more inspiration because Jupiter is still in that beautiful trine to Neptune, which it will be until August next year. So there's a sense of being able to lift ourselves from wherever we are into a sense of a better world, better inspiration, bigger horizons for self and the world. What is also strong in this second half of December is that Uranus and Eris at 24 of Aries are square to Pluto at 18 of Capricorn. Now, from 2008, I've been talking about the square between Uranus and Pluto, and it was very strong, particularly in those years from 2008 to 2012. It started to separate a little, but at this month, December, and even more tightly in January, that square is coming together a little more. So it's only within 6 degrees, that square between Uranus and Pluto. So this raises revolutionary energy again. And just to remind you, Pluto in Capricorn is about controlling governments, corporations, institutions, and Uranus is that eruptive revolutionary urge to challenge that control, to challenge that dominance, to challenge that status quo. It's the planet of freedom, it's the planet of independence, it's the planet of truth, and not allowing that degree of control to compromise our lives. And what adds to that Uranian energy is through December, Uranus is barely moving. It's still retrograde and it moves barely half a degree all the way through December because it's coming to a stationary position on the 2nd of January when it'll move direct again. So when a slow-moving planet like Uranus is moving even slower, there's a kind of drilling down on the focus of that symbolism. So restlessness, freedom, independence, challenging the status quo, those energies are going to be very strong in December. So there's a real polarity building here, and over the next 3 years, I have to say. This is really the beginning of setting up themes for the next 3 years, because we have this Uranus-Pluto square getting a little bit tighter. We have Uranus coming to be stationary direct on the 2nd of January. But on the other hand, we have Saturn moving into Capricorn on 21st of December. Now, one of the very positive things about this is it's about integrity and accountability. So Uranus square Pluto will particularly challenge leaders and governments where they have acted out of integrity. Jupiter's in Scorpio. We've been anticipating and seeing a great deal, many secrets being revealed, which, as we expected, were sexual and also to do with taxes and investments. Much more of that to come. We have another year of Jupiter in Scorpio. But those revelations that Jupiter in Scorpio is bringing about demonstrate, in many cases, the lack of integrity of the rich and powerful, or our leaders. So with Saturn moving into Capricorn on the 21st of the month, it is possible that those people are going to be called to account, because this is about accountability, reputation, and integrity. So very important that we keep our integrity, we keep our alignment as individuals in everything that we're doing. Now, Saturn is moving into Capricorn together with the Sun. It hasn't done that. It's at the winter solstice on the 21st of December. It hasn't done that since 1870, which suggests this is a very important shift of Saturn into Capricorn. Now, Capricorn, as I've kind of hinted at with Pluto in Capricorn, is about governments, it's about financial institutions, about big corporations, and it is suggesting that there will be a degree of greater control coming in with Saturn in Capricorn. The two signs that are really linked to control are Capricorn and Scorpio. Of course, Jupiter is in Scorpio, Saturn's in Capricorn. So we may see moves towards greater global control of various things in our lives. But equally, we are going to see individual resistance. We're going to see people saying, no, I'm not going to follow that social control. I'm going to do it my own way. And because we have a semi-square between Uranus and Neptune, that allows us to link with other people of like mind, of high principle that we may think on the internet, Uranus, to find our tribe, to find our level of people who think and feel the same way as we do, particularly around areas of compassion. That's Neptune. Unconditional love. Living in a society where the ideals are high, the love is strong as the highest frequency that we can have in the world, and there is mutual respect for the sanctity of all life, and that's something I feel incredibly passionately about. So we're going to have this polarization. Now, on a personal level, Saturn is to do with restructuring. So see where the sign of Capricorn falls in your chart, because over the next 3 years, Saturn's going to be in Capricorn for 3 years. That is an area which is going to take either work or effort or focus or restructuring for you. Is it going to be moving through your second house? That's money. Are you going to be restructuring your finances in some way? Is it moving through your third house? That can actually be a brilliant time to study because it narrows the mind down to certain objectives. I did much of my studying for my astrology exams with transiting Saturn moving through my third house. I've actually got a whole video on Jupiter and Saturn transits through the houses. And again, you can see that on my website and get the link there. So it's a very, very important transit where we have to do some work. We have to apply effort in that area. Saturn in Capricorn also represents a kind of reality check. It's conjunct the Sun and the Moon at this new moon, but in moving into Capricorn in general represents a reality check. Now, Saturn has been in Sagittarius. That's the sign of sort of extravagance. And we've been through several years of quantitative easing where, you know, we just printed money. Now we could be moving into a time where we are seeing the results of that in society and in finance. It's very interesting. Saturn moving into Capricorn is going to be affecting about 80% of the planets of the chart of the Federal Reserve. And again, I've got a lot of detail about that in my monthly newsletter if you'd like to subscribe, where I go into much more depth. So it is absolutely undeniable that over the next 3 to 7 years, we are going to see huge changes in finance and the world economy. And I'm saying that because Saturn is moving into Capricorn, which is to do with such matters. Saturn has a 29-year cycle. One of the previous times it moved into Capricorn was in 1929. When, of course, that was the beginning of the Great Depression. Not suggesting that necessarily, but it is usually a time of tightening economically and conservatism. It's playing safe. It's not being too wild with our resources. In addition, Uranus is moving into Taurus in May 2018. Taurus is another earth sign to do with finance and banks and that sort of thing. Uranus stays there for 7 years, and Uranus is about sudden, radical change. So the combination of Saturn and Uranus over the next few years, and I'll be talking more about this as we get into 2018, it is, I would say, astrologically certain, and I rarely say that we are going to have some huge shifts, not in December necessarily, but moving more into later 2018 and onwards. Very, very big shifts in finance, in resources, in cryptocurrencies, Uranus internet, Taurus money, cryptocurrencies, that sort of thing. I'm not necessarily recommending those. I don't understand them very much myself, but I am saying there are going to be some very big changes in those areas. As we move into 2018, there's a lot of emphasis on earth and water signs. As of the 21st of December, we have Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. May next year, we have Uranus in Taurus. Those are all earth signs. We also have Jupiter in Scorpio, water sign, and Neptune and Chiron in Pisces, another water sign. Neptune will actually stay in Pisces till 2023. So it's earth and water. And just as I was saying for the economic side, that Uranus and Taurus will bring about great changes in that side of things, it is also likely to bring about great changes with the Earth, Taurus, the Earth, the sign most linked to our Earth. Now, this can be sudden changes in climate. It could be literally sudden Earth shifts in the tectonic plates. And it will alert even more people to the care and protection of the Earth and our resources. Haumea, the dwarf planet, about the protection and regeneration of the Earth, is opposing Aries, the spiritual warrior. We are going to be fighting, many of us, to protect and regenerate our Earth over the coming years, particularly in 2018. So there's going to be a lot of innovation, Uranus, connected with clearing up the Earth. We're seeing that already. Uranus, the innovation always comes from the grassroots. Very often comes from young people, which Uranus represents partly, comes from the grassroots. It doesn't necessarily come from the top down. That's Pluto in Capricorn. It comes from the bottom up. So we're seeing many great innovations in organic growing of vegetables in warehouses, vertical stacking on top of roofs of hospitals and buildings. You know, seeing some wonderful innovations there. There are also going to be innovations in clearing up our oceans and seas. Neptune in Pisces is to do with plastics and toxicity and pollution. Chiron in Pisces also represents wounded water, and we are becoming very aware of the situation with that, and how there are some amazing ideas to start to clear up the plastics in our ocean. So that whole area is going to become even stronger in 2018. As well as the rejuvenation of the Earth, Saturn moving into Capricorn has another very interesting side. Saturn in myth is linked to Kronos, Lord of Time. So it's not only linked to time, it's linked to aging. It's also linked to the skin, the teeth and the bones. So as we move through this 3-year period of Saturn in Capricorn, I think we're going to see some tremendous advances in rejuvenation, in anti-aging, rejuvenation of skin, bones and teeth. It's very interesting because, of course, we've still got this aspect between Haumea, about regeneration, dwarf planet of regeneration, very strong in the heavens as well. So I'm already seeing in social media a lot of innovations in dentistry. There will be many, as I say, to do with skin, but also with diseases of the bones, such as osteoporosis. So I think we'll see some very big steps there. I was just reading in a scientific journal the other day that scientists have discovered how to take fat cells and turn them into stem cells to repair any part of our body which is damaged or in need of repair. That sounds like a really good idea to me. So they have already developed that, and not sure when it's going to be public, but it will. I feel very strongly it will be in this 3-year period where we're going to be focused on those things. We're going to be turning back time. Saturn, Lord of Time. Also, other things just to mention at this new moon period, going back to that, Mercury is going to be square to Neptune for this second half of December. Now, Mercury is still retrograde up until the 23rd of December. It gets to 13 of Sagittarius and it then turns direct and moves forward again. But Mercury square to Neptune is wonderful for imagination, for inspiration and for creativity. So we can use that really well. The other thing at the new moon is that Chiron is square to the Sun, the Moon and Saturn. Now, Chiron makes us very aware of suffering and woundedness. And I think this is also very connected to moving towards the Christmas period for those of us in the Western world that celebrate Christmas, because we become more aware of people who are suffering, animals who are suffering as well. But rather than letting that act as a check on your inspiration and your future visions for the world, turn that into a fuel and a galvanizer for your inspiration. We are going to build a better world that has less suffering, that lives in a vibration of love, that respects the sanctity of all life, that respects the sentience of animals, that respects nature, that protects the earth in all her abundance. I feel those things incredibly, profoundly and passionately. So, and I think many of us are going to be feeling that at this second half of December. So have a wonderful new moon in Sagittarius. Don't forget to set your intention. Also have a wonderful second half and a wonderful festive period if you celebrate Christmas. So if you'd like more information on my monthly newsletter, just check out my website, pamgregory.com. My books, How to Co-Create Using the Secret Language of the Universe, or You Don't Really Believe in Astrology, Do You?, which has been re-edited now, or the tutorial videos, which I've got quite a few now, and I've mentioned a couple of them earlier. Just check out pamgregory.com. It's all there for you. And in the meantime, enjoy the second half, and thank you so much for listening. God bless.